Um, can you go right ahead? And that's my guess in the orange shirt, and say, identify or introduce yourself to our listeners.
Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, Corporal Grant, thank you so much for having me here.
You're more than welcome.
This morning, my name is Dr. Niels Chaitan. I'm an international social skill consultant and crime reduction specialist.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure to team up with you since getting to know you with the red, green, and yellow signal, the
Right.
traffic light.
That's correct.
Good morning to you, gentlemen, with the white shirt.
Good morning, and to all your viewers. I must say, Ms. Grant, thank you for having me on the program this morning, and thank God for being here. And my name is Laurie Williams, police officer, and I'm attached to the Granville Police Station.
Okay, so thanks much. And as I said, time had already elapsed, so we will jump right into it for our program this morning. What are we really talking about this morning, Dr. Chaitan? I know that you wear different caps, and it's a privilege from the police standpoint, and more so CRD Eastern Division, to be working along with you and also using some of your expertise and services as we interact with our community members, but more so within the realm of juveniles and juvenile delinquencies, and to an extent of also that of community issues and domestic violence. It is a privilege and a pleasure to have your expertise on board, because sometimes we do need that extra touch. But with all of that caps that you're wearing, this morning we will be narrowing down to an extent and be looking at the program that you are involved in or with, and that is in collaboration with the schools. So we're gonna just touch some of that, and then we would break down as to how the program that you are involved with that intervention for our children as we go along, right?
Yep.
So what really is the STAR program?
Well, before I answer that question, Corporal Grant, I want to say, first of all, a shout out to the RGPF from at every level, because with me coming back, being stationed in Toronto for all these years and me coming back on an annual basis, I saw the development of the CRD department here in Grenada, a key component to community empowerment. And it's been a pleasure to work with you and Constable Leonard Callis here on my left. We've done quite a lot of interventions together, and I applaud you. It's one of the ways that a lot of police forces and services across the globe going, because they realize it's not only about enforcement, but it's about encouragement.
Right.
And as you alluded to the STAR Intervention Program, the STAR Intervention Program is it's an initiative of the Ministry of Education. I think it's such a powerful program, such a essential program and relevant program, because the aim of the STAR Intervention Program is to make stars, as you hear the name, stars of some of our at-risk children, right? The main mission is to reduce the chance of dropout and criminal activity in high schools.
Definitely.
Right? And so we are working, we aim to work with as many schools as we can, although at this point in time we are concentrating on one particular school, and I must let you know that school is so blessed and fortunate because they've been crying out for assistance, and it's our pleasure. On my right is Constable Larry Williams, and he's part of our team that have been doing this from September last year, and we have been addressing issues with our target students, that is. But of course, as we get more into the conversation, I'll tell you about some of the components. So I have to shout out the Minister of Education, Emily Pierre, because she's the one who actually that's her child. She says that's her baby.
Baby.
And she's the one who actually brought this to life, and of course all the other people like Miss Grenade and since we are working with District 3, Kathy and James and all these people who tried to work with us to make it a holistic approach towards empowerment of our students.
Right. So I know persons might be saying, well, it's a program, it's a police program, conversation with the RGPF. What is it this man talking about with education? But my introduction would have alluded to the fact that we also have used your expertise and your specialization in that of working with our juveniles. And it falls back within the realm of school because our juveniles are predominantly of school. Right. And hence that marriage between education and police, law enforcement, juvenile delinquency works hand in hand.
That's a key piece, because remember, as we see it, as I've working on 3 continents and done a lot of work in the Caribbean, we see that the gentlemen and the ladies, young ladies, more so gentlemen, if we are honest with ourselves,
definitely,
that are more prone to criminal activity are those who could not navigate the academics of high school. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And these are those that get frustrated. It's not that they're dumb and they can't handle it, right. But they probably need an extra encouragement. They need a special touch from a teacher. And so when they don't get that, mm-hmm. they get frustrated, they become bored. And these are those are most likely to drop out somewhere there. And in my model, I call it the dropout zone, which is anywhere between Form 2 and Form 4.
Yes.
Right? When they drop out, they go on the side of the road, they have nothing to do. And so they get into, they engage into what they see as exciting activity, which that may not necessarily be legal activity.
Certainly. And it has played out time and time again, and that's where you would realize that we have to be enforcing the law with our juveniles time and time again from different standpoints based on the activities or the action that they get mm-hmm, themselves mm-hmm. into. But to have a greater appreciation for the STAR program, what are the objectives of that program?
Well, the objective, the key objective of the program is to have every student that gets into high school to graduate. Right. So as I say that, you see, is to mitigate dropout.
Good.
Okay. So what we are doing right now, we are targeting those that are most vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And we can't take them all.
Definitely.
We can't take them all. Yes. And right now, there were other schools that were involved. But COVID came and we had to slim down the program and become more target focused, mm-hmm. right? And so GSS, Grenville Secondary, is blessed to have us.
Definitely.
Right? It's blessed to have because we don't only, now that the boys are back into school, we don't only work with our target students, but we also empower the whole school, because if the boys are going back to school, it will be crucial for the school body to know the same components, the same concepts. And that's where Larry Williams comes in so handy, because our mantra is, in the STAR program, is encouragement above enforcement.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, you know what? When you talk about a police officer, right? Traditionally, people think police officers as arresting people, kicking doors in, executing search warrants, roughing up people, putting them in handcuffs. That's what people usually see in their minds, right?
Right.
However, with RGPF being a stakeholder in this and being a partner with us, and I must shout out people like Inspector Kenneth Bascom, who is the one who were originally involved and who pioneered it. Mm-hmm. And then we had others like Sergeant Aaron Thomas, mm-hmm. and of course Larry Williams, who were involved in our camp. And it's strange, Corporal Grant, when Larry came up to the camp, the serious camp, the boys said, "This man is coming here. If this man is coming here, I want to go home," right? But Larry Williams understood our mantra,
yes.
Encouragement above enforcement. And there were several times, as we tried to curb the behavior of the boy, that Larry could have made an arrest.
Yeah.
But Larry realized that if we're going to change young men, we got to go for the heart. Mm-hmm. And so Larry encouraged. And today, I must let you know that Larry is like a father to these boys. And he's sitting right to my right here.
Right.
I'm so happy to have him on our team.
But on that note, Constable Williams, can you share with us what your experience has been for you as in law enforcement? And here you are working with these young men who we know in some way or the other had contravened the law, and you have to, quote unquote, guardedly, I'm going to say it, use the soft hand approach in helping our young men to get back on the right track. How has that been for you?
Well, to be honest with you, it was not a very hard thing to make the adjustments. My thing is that over the years, I've looked and I've seen that, we have an issue with young people, and that's where my passion lies.
All right.
You're wanting to help young people to be on the right track and to make the right decision. As we said earlier on, we cannot help everybody. We understand that. But those who are willing to accept help, and even those sometimes who, kind of defy you, you're still there, you want to support them and give them the best that you can. So I understand, yes, sometimes, offenses are committed and you are tempted to make an arrest, but again, you prefer sit them down, explain to them what's taking place, what the consequences are, before you go down that road. And I must tell you, in so doing, you gain a level of respect from these young men, and for me, it wasn't a very hard transition because this is what my passion lies. I'm in the station basically almost every day, and I see young men come in, they go, some go to prison. And it hurt my heart sometimes to see that happen. So at the end of the day, my thing is that, we try to help them, take a more proactive approach, and, at least save some of these young men before they get entangled with the law.
Well, thank you. But I am aware, Williams, that you have been within the education system prior to the RGPF. And again, fortunately, unfortunately, back to your alma mater. But how do you get as an officer to draw the line between that level of enforcement and that of encouragement? Because I am aware as to the young men that we interface with on a daily basis. How do you make that judgment call in terms of should I enforce or should I encourage?
Well, the thing about it is that, when you relate to some of the youngsters or to some of the children in school, and you would understand them because of the way they communicate. So some of them have no idea of the offenses that they're committing.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you have a responsibility as to, sort of educate them as to what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And I always say to them, so if I have to talk to you once or twice and encourage you and let you know, listen, this was wrong, this was right. If I have to come a third time, then I may have to enforce the law because I've already explained to you what you should and should not do.
Right.
So then, while you're in there among the students, you have the tendency to just observe them, and then at least, as they say, sometimes you know where to draw the line.
But if I could jump in here, Corporal Grant, I think what we do, we get so involved with them. We get to see the home situation. We get to see some of the factors that influence the behavior, right? And if you are just a police officer who stands there, right, in a corner and see a behavior, then you react to that behavior.
Definitely.
Right? But if you know what some of the underlying factors, if you know that there's hunger and there is no father in the house, no discipline in the house, and the child wants something and I can't get it and stuff, and you know that about it and you see a certain behavior, you could kind of help with that behavior. You are more prone, right, to be sympathetic and empathetic as opposed to be enforcing, right? And I think that is where the community relation department of the RGPF is doing an amazing job. I've been out in the community with you guys, and we go into homes and we see situations, so we could be a little more empathetic. And I think that is how the mixture. We are not saying police be social workers. We're not saying that. And by the way, some people are laughing at people like Larry Williams. When I was in St. Kitts, the same thing happened. Some even of the seasoned officers were laughing and say, because they don't know a soft hand approach.
That's why.
Right? And so they say, oh, you guys are trained, but you guys are just social workers. Let social workers do their job. No. It takes a certain mix, and it takes a certain kind of officer that know when to mix it.
Definitely. Definitely. But may I say it's not just Larry, because our commissioner of police is now enforcing and mandating that the overall organization ought to realize that of community policing. Community policing allows that blend. It doesn't say to turn a blind eye to criminal activities and behavior, but it just guides you as to how best do you work with an individual. I mean, I have arrested persons for offenses before, and even thereafter we remain acquaintances. There was no vexation, because even if I did an arrest, I educated, this is my job, I ought to do this, these are the consequences of your action, and you got to get the person to understand. So while it may look soft-handed, it's a method to prevent recidivism, so that persons do not continue the same pattern or always. But
on my left here is Constable Callis, right? I've seen Callis lean up against a wall and talk to someone already. You know what I'm saying? Where he could stand at attention, like if you're drilling and come hard. I've seen Callis. Callis just showed me a picture in his phone where he was doing a kind deed, right? And that is what we need, right? I do a lot of police education, by the way. So I speak in a lot of police colleges, including here. And there's a session I do that's called, "Are you a policeman or a police trap?" Woo! A police officer or police trap. A police officer is a community builder.
Definitely.
A police trap cares about his stripes.
All
I want to do is to make my like you have a quota
climb
working
the ladder.
with, right? And from that mentality, there is absolutely no space for empathy and sympathy.
Definitely. Now, with the STAR intervention and that collaborative relationship between yourself, Doc, as an expert in behavioral science and other fields, exactly who or what body is the STAR program geared at addressing?
What body? Can I come again?
Yeah, exactly who? What group or sector is the STAR program addressing?
The STAR program is targeting youngsters, and I say youngsters with an agenda, of course, whether boys or girls, predominantly boys. Let's be honest, our juvenile center is predominantly boys. Our prisons, predominantly men, right?
Definitely.
So we tend to target young men who are at risk there, who are not doing their work, who are very impulsive, and by saying that, there are certain things that are driving that kind of behavior. And I know Larry going to talk about that in a while, but you look at our young men, go in any school, once they have their phone in their hand, they have a game on called PUBG, right? And that game is driving the impulse. Look at them, go in any school, or any parents that's listening that have their children on PUBG. Look at the stance of a child. They never sit like, I'm sitting with lean back. They're on the offensive. Because PUBG is a battle game. Right? Where you try not to be killed and you try to kill everybody else. So look at what we're doing. And there are a lot of school of thought out there where they say that video games don't influence behavior. And I tend to disagree. Right? Because we are sharpening the impulses. The boy is sitting there with his two thumbs trying to kill as quickly as many as he can. Right? You see what I'm saying? So when you get into an argumentative situation now, and your impulse take over, what do you expect? Right? And you see, that's why we have so much, and as I came back to Grenada now, there were jukers, right? Jukers, right? We made some sharp instrument for juking. We've seen juking in our bus terminal. We see young men being afflicted with scissors and what have you, because young men are on the edge.
Definitely.
They're on the edge, right? And so the STAR intervention program, hopefully, I'm praying that one day it rolls across Grenada, right? So we could intercept as many as we can.
Right. Larry, we want to stick a pin a bit and drill down on the aspect of these, how to put it, games via devices and media. Based on your experience interacting with the students of the various schools, and in my judgment, are subjected to correction, more that of the secondary school, what advice do you have to give to the parents and also that of the students who might be hearing us this morning and gravitating to those games?
Well, Papa Grant, to be honest with you, it took me some time to really realize the influence that those games have on the children at school.
Right.
And being able to walk to a class or walk the corridor and observe these children sitting there when it's class time, not even bothering about going to class, and you would ask them, well, what did you have now? They would just look at you and say, I'm not sure, but they focus on that game.
Right.
And the thing about it is that I am not too sure if some of the parents really understand what's going on with the young ones. I am not too sure. And that's why I want to encourage parents to, pay close attention to the young ones at home. You leave them with a cell phone and you tell yourself that everything is okay, but it's not.
Right.
It's really not, because, if you're going to spend 5 years in secondary school, well, let's say 4 years and 3 weeks, because you have maybe about
Sure, right.
50 weeks, as vacation. And you're going to spend another, how should I say, maybe a year, if you have the time, playing game. You're going to lose a lot, a whole lot. So we have this game now that's out, Free Fire, PUBG. And this is where the focus are. And we have to understand that if we don't try our best, I'm not saying that you can't play video games,
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the people who are listening. But we need to pay attention to them, because they are very distracted, and after a while it becomes an addiction to them, and so the focus is just there. Okay, but the parents, you have a very important part to play. We're trying out here to help, to advise them, listen, you need to weigh and balance this thing.
Yeah.
But the parents are home, you with them every time, so you need to at least pay some attention to them, and this is priority to us.
I want to be the devil's advocate with you, Larry, this morning, and to ask you, and if you can answer, based on the students that you've seen engage in those games. Now, I'm of the opinion that it is addictive because I've seen some myself. But have you experienced a relationship between the students who are steadfastly at these games and those who get involved in fights? It don't have to be those that are extremed, but just the ordinary fights and conflict within the school. Have you seen any correlation with that?
Well, yes, as Chaitan said earlier on. You see, these games, they're created in such a way that you're always trying to kill someone, to win a level. You understand? And I think they were taking it into real life situations.
Right.
So that's what happened, because as soon as something happened, they're ready to come at you.
Right.
So
right.
yes, there is a relationship between those playing the games and when they get involved in fights on the terminal or wherever they go.
Right.
There is always this kind of annoyance. If you speak to them,
They're on edge in local word.
Impulsive.
they're ready to go. So,
yes, I understand.
And if I could just come in here with that question you asked
Certainly.
there, because we have to put the onus, for some reason or the other, parents are throwing up their hands in the air and giving up.
True,
right?
certainly.
And we have to put the onus on parents. We brought this into the world, right?
Yes.
How is it that a boy could be in your house, going to bed 3 a.m, right? Because he's on PUBG for the whole night.
Yes.
That boy needs to come to school in the morning. So when he comes to school in the morning and a teacher is trying to teach and he walks in late and he's very sleepy and drowsy and the teacher pulled him up, it's a fight immediately.
Definitely.
It's a fight immediately,
Definitely.
right? So the question is, Corporal, we have a training center in my place. We got a training center. We had the boys down there, okay?
Right.
And we told them. I told them at 10 o'clock the internet is going off.
Okay.
Whether you are accustomed playing at
Play,
5 in the morning,
yes.
you are here now at our camp at 10 o'clock. The internet is going off, and when 10 o'clock came, the internet went off.
Right.
Even if it means, for me personally, I have to inconvenience myself.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Parents, how is it that you sleeping and your children are up 5 in the morning playing games?
Yeah.
How is it?
Crazy.
Who's paying for the internet?
Yeah.
Before you continue, I must also add to that. I realize sometimes, parents will meet you on the street, and it's okay to meet and speak to the police concerning your child. But one of my concerns is that, when the police have to get involved with a parent and a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old, who they say to you, listen, he's not listening, he's not doing what I say. At the end of the day, when a child realizes that the police have to come in and speak to me at 9 and 10, they've already realized that, listen, mommy and daddy has already given. So it's like old people say, you give them up to run.
Yes.
So when the police
Yes.
is not there, they will do whatever they have to. And when you stick a Samsung Galaxy, a 9 Plus in your 9-year-old pocket, and you there with a piece of flashlight phone, so to speak, you need to at least, you should be the one having those updated phones so you can be friends with your child on Facebook or have them on WhatsApp, so you can monitor them. After a while, all this will stop because children are getting older, they will become, adults, and things will change. But as for now, it's one way of tracking, their behavior and see what's going on with them.
Yeah. You're certainly right, because from experiences, we've realized in many instances the parents don't know. The children have the smarter phones, and mommy or daddy's at that level. They just fail to bring themselves up to par. And even if you can't, because it's two different era, two different generation, seek the necessary help, because at the end of the day, I normally say when I do presentations to PTAs and parents, when the child excel, it's everybody's child. But when he or she go downwards, it's only you. From the time the act is committed, the police call only the parents. No one else, not the school, not the community. But when the child do well, everybody gets the praise. Yeah. Listeners, you tuned in to Real FM 91.9, 91.5, and it's a Wednesday morning, lovely, pretty bright Wednesday morning, and it is the conversation with the RGPF. I take this opportunity to say good morning to Maria Callis. Constable Callis, Maria is saying good morning, and also that of Yolanda Francois. Good morning to you guys, and even those who didn't get the opportunity to say so, we know that the program has been reaching not just the Tri-Island state, but also the diaspora and internationally. Thank God to technology. So with this morning in studio with me is none other than Dr. Neil Chaitan, and we're just discussing the whole issue of the Star Intervention Program as to how can we help continue to do that intervention with our juvenile and our young person. And one of my colleagues, I'm happy to know and to see working along with Dr. Chaitan is none other than Constable 461 Larry Williams. And certainly the passion and the drive he has for our young people within our community day to day, not just within his work thoroughfare, but throughout. And these are the kind of passion and drive we need to see within our police force and officers as we travel. But with the STAR program, Doc, where are we? I'm taking part and ownership now. Yeah. Where are we in regards to the program? What are we doing now? Okay. Where are we?
So the program started with a three-week camp, living in camp, right? And then from there, of course, where we build connections with the young men, right? Let them know what our intentions are, how much we are interested in their success. Then we took it off-site from the school that they were coming from. Right. We took it off-site. So we spent another, it's a 6 months, right? So we spent another 5 months and 1 week there. For us, it was at the Progress Park. That's where we ended up. But the whole intention is to reintegrate them back into school. Right. So right now, as of February, end of February, the boys are reintegrated back in school. Right. However, to help support what we've taught and to help the young men to use the concepts we give them, right? Without hopefully oversaturating. Right? So we have a certain role to play. When we go now to the school, it's not about lecturing again because they heard it all. They know the concepts. Right. We're here to support them. So we support them in school 2 days a week, which is Monday and Friday. Right. But what do we do in the meantime? We go to the homes. Right. Because it's very difficult to get parents come together. Definitely. So we have a component that is called a home empowerment. Now, when we go to a home, it's not only that student and the mother or father. It's the whole home. So if they're bigger brothers, they're smaller brothers, we empower, we teach them concepts. We show them how they are responsible also for helping that student to excel. Right? And in some cases, we have bigger brothers mentoring or giving advice to our target student right there. Which was amazing, right? So we have that component. But we also have, the minister is very, very concerned about the community, because let's face it, the community is one of the factors that would have influenced behavior at some level. So what we've done now, a great percentage of our boys come from the Mount Horn, Lafayette, Parkland area. Right? And so what we've done, we've targeted the Mount Horn community, right? And we are doing a complete social rebranding of Mount Horn. Right? On Thursdays, that's tomorrow afternoon, evening, we have up to 42 guys on the block, teenagers, even younger ones that are coming out on a consistent basis. It's our 7th session. We have 12. And on hopefully sometime in the end of June, we'll be having a graduation ceremony where these guys will be coming nicely dressed, right? Receiving a Canadian social skills certificate, which you're all excited about, right?
Right.
So we are teaching the same concepts to the community. Now, guess what's happening? The community now is holding our boys responsible.
Right.
So,
right.
for example, the program we're doing is called Project Stop and Think. And if they see one of our boys doing something, they say, "So, did you stop and think?"
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we are trying to get this concept to infiltrate all through every fabric of their existence, so that we all could work together. We all could encourage and hold each other responsible.
Well, I know for a fact, based on learning and experience, the hardest part of education process is relearning. Because you have to unwind what you would have learned over the years and relearn something different. So that saying, Doc, you think you'll succeed? The philosophy is, even if we catch one.
Yeah. Well, the truth about it, the program that we are doing right now, especially we have now the grade 6 transition program in place, right? We know the behavior we see behaviors have been kind of nurtured over a period of time. We are not miracle workers.
Right.
Nobody is really, right? What we do, we're trying to teach them better concepts that they could use. But in the meantime, we have to help them to relearn, right? Because they've learned some and learn new concepts. And so people that are looking for immediate change, you would not see that.
Exactly.
You would not see that.
Exactly.
We are looking at them and evaluating them at different concepts. So, for example, if a young man came with us with 5 dominant, these undesirable behavior, right? At this point, could we say that at least we help him to overcome 2 or 3 of that?
Right.
Then that is significant change, right?
Of course.
As we move forward, we could. So it's not. Grenada, I want you to know, we are not miracle workers, and as good as we are, and as much as we love what we do, we are not miracle workers. It's going to take a little while, but what I could tell you is that our star team is fully committed. We're on the road all kind of 1 o'clock in the morning. We answer calls. We jump in the car, as you know,
Definitely.
and we get on the road,
Definitely.
right? So.
Ms. Grant, just to come in here for a bit, as it relates to the STAR program, you know, and Dr. was saying that, you know, we're not miracle workers. It's a process. It will take some time.
Yes.
And I spoke to a young man who would have said to me that, you know, he was part of a program with Dr. Chaitan years ago. You know, he said, I wasn't the kind of person I am now.
Right.
You know, but he is also a law enforcement officer right now. So it just goes to show that, you know, people would think that this program should help the boys. Parents will call it, and they will ask, you know, I heard you have a program going on, you know, can you take my son? Yes, we can. We can try to help. Yes, we can do what we have to do, but you are supposed to do your part.
You have a responsibility.
At the end of the day, you know, I always say I hope to outlive, you know, the time to see that some of these boys, you know, really get to the point in their life where we could say, you know what, this has worked for them.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're in Form 4 now, you might go to Form 5, go to college with this kind of behavior. But when you finish there and we see what you've turned out to be, then we can understand and say, okay, this has worked, you know, in some way or the other. So I don't want people to think that, okay, we spoke about Mount Han, that is going to change overnight. You know, it's a process. Whether it be Mount Han or Marigo, Post Royal, Aladi Union, wherever you go, you know, it's a process, and you will find that 2 would come, you know, as sometimes you will say by some miraculous intervention.
Yeah.
And your man would decide to come today and make that turnaround immediately.
Yeah.
But the majority of them would have to
take a process.
It takes a process. So, you know, just
And-
encourage them.
And certainly, it shows that it's a community that raises an individual, because you get it in the school or at the school level, you get it home, because some of these young boys has come from steady homes, but because of the influence within society and who they mix and interact with more times out of the 24 hour that we all allocated, then that seems to pool. And we also need to consider, as you would know, Doc, that identification and ego has a lot to do with individuals within that age range. So that's when they're looking for identity association and you looking at stereotype and want to be like that person. So it take a lot of self-esteem and strong worth and values
Right.
to not incline to the negative of that the society has.
And that's
to
where we
keep.
start, because I mean, with the moving on up grade 6 program, right? We want to send a better batch. A more inspired
Right.
batch into Form 1. If we are going to mitigate high school dropout, we have to get our grade 6s. You know, right now, what we've seen in many of the Caribbean islands is that schools are preparing children to pass the CPEA.
Right.
That's what they're preparing for.
Yes.
And not necessarily preparing them to adjust to high school life.
Right.
Right? In the primary school, you have one teacher that is responsible for you.
Yes.
As you get into Form 1, you got to decide, you got to go to different classes for different teachers.
Definitely.
If you don't have the discipline, if you don't have the work ethics and how to follow routines, right? As soon as you go inside, you get lost.
Yeah.
Because you're moving from a handheld situation to where you have to be
Or
independent.
navigate,
And
yes.
if you are not ready for that psychological jump,
Forget
right,
it.
you get lost very easy.
Yeah.
So what we do with the grade 6 is that we go around to all. I mean, right now we have 15 schools.
Right.
From Peabody right into Pomrose.
Okay.
Right? Predominantly District 13, Cathy and James District. And we are giving all the grade 6s the same information.
Right.
So when they go whatever high school they choose, they have the same concepts. So if somebody trying to lead you into something wrong, they could say, but you remember what Mr. Larry said, or what Dr. Chaitin said, stop and think, boy, don't do that, right?
Right.
As opposed to you saying that and say, what are you talking about, guy? You trying to play a goody-goody?
Yes.
They all would have
Yes.
the same concept.
Yeah, right.
So we are preparing them, and we hope that if we could do it in 5 years, we would have turned around a complete generation.
Definitely.
A complete generation.
As per usual, our hour has
Woo,
always
fun.
walk a fly, jump out on us. And it's only when we are disseminating and the passion and the drive, the time goes by and we're not aware. But Doc, can I hold you to it and tell our listeners certainly you will be back to continue our program of that nature.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm passionate about empowerment of young people. I'm passionate about success of young people, and any institution, with my preference, RGPF, of course, that invite me back. I'm more than willing. Just can't wait to come back here so we could help not only the individual, we could help our nation.
Right.
All right. And by the way, we have beautiful people. Grenadians are known, right, in North America where I lived, as really beautiful people. We can raise a next generation of beautiful people.
Right. So, Doc, with the transitioning of the grade 6, which is the CPA batch, preparing for secondary school, we know that there are behavioral attitudes.
Right.
That this is one of the areas because the body is changing, the mind, the cognitive response is
Right,
also changing,
right.
the association is changing. Can I hold you to it that our next program you touch something more on the behavioral approach of our young persons and how can our society and parents work together to having them correct?
Definitely. Oh, by the way, Corporal Grant, allow me and Mr. Larry to shout out one of the third party of our team,
Great.
Auntie Patsy.
Yes.
She's listening, by the way. She's on listening, and she's the third party of our team that goes around with us. She
Right.
brings such a motherly, caring aspect
Female
of
touch,
it.
that's it,
Female touch,
Yeah.
of course, right? And so I know she's listening. So, Auntie Patsy, thank you so much for being part of our team. Although I slept with you last night, by the way, because she's my wife.
Definitely. So we only have 5 minutes, and right after would be the cabinet brief. So as usual, the time is never enough, but we are grateful for what we get. Just to leave some closing remarks with our listeners, as we look at the STAR program and how can we make that intervention and that help in the lives of our young persons. Larry Williams?
Yeah, I must say that I will continue to stress on parents. And before I go to that, let me at least shout out the teachers who are out there. Sometimes we just don't understand what teachers go through on a daily basis. We just don't understand when we're not there on the ground, looking at it, seeing it. Okay. So I must say to the parents, you know, we want you to continue to support. We want you to be there for your children. Remember, your child does not belong to an institution. This is your child, okay? So it's not everything you want to call corporate grant or everything you want to call the Child Protection Authority. You need to do your part as well. And so we just want to encourage all parents to just look out for your young ones, you know, do what you're supposed to do as a parent, you know, not providing just money and cell phone material stuff. You need to show them that love and affection that they need. So at least when they come to school on a daily basis, they have an understanding. Listen, mommy loves me, daddy loves me, you know, it doesn't matter what you say to me, I know I'm loved, I'm cared for. You know, this is the kind of thing that we want, you know, not this violent behavior in schools. So parents, again to you, we really solicit your support.
So thank you so much, Williams. But you know, that's the thing about Real FM. We are really the boss. You know, it's Real FM. You know, so when I was rushing to say, give me your closing remarks, management just said, post cabinet is 1 hour later, which would be 11. So they allow us a few minutes inside of our close, inside of their timing to bring the curtain down. So, Dr. Chaitan, before you do your closing remarks, I know persons are still asking, what is it he really talking about in regards to the transition of the grade 6? Just give us a summation as to what that transitioning of the grade 6 into secondary school, and then we say thank you to
Right.
you.
I usually describe it this way. There are two ways to go into secondary school. There is to be washed into secondary school because you're of the age and you an average student.
Right.
You could pass a CPA, not excel, but you're okay, all right? You pass. So it's like, imagine when the water is, the river is going over the bridge,
Yes.
right? It takes everything with it. It takes bamboo, if a cow falls, if you fall, it takes you too, right? You are helpless, right? You don't know where you're going to land. You land in a bamboo stool, you land in the ocean, you can't swim, right? And that's one way of going to high school. The other way is to jump into high school. And the word jump is intentional, right? When you're jumping, and I usually symbolize it with a long jumper, right? When you're jumping, doing long jump, your stance is important. Your run up is important. The board is important. If you overstep, it's a no jump. Your landing is important, right? So it's different from being washed. We don't want children to be washed into high school. We want them to jump. You would be amazed to see the business cards we are getting. They are going to high school with a business card. All right? Because we ask them, who are you? What's the innate virtue you have? We put words on the screen, 30 words, loving, caring, humorous, outspoken. They choose one.
Right.
Then we show them a career that could go with the word that they have.
Right.
Right? And we build it for them. So they go into high school, and if a teacher asks them, what do you want to be? They'll do. You should see how they do it with us.
Right.
We point them, they push a chair back, they jump up and say, my name is Niels Chaitan. I will be a social scientist because I am caring. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So when they go into high school, could you imagine over 600 children from Tivoli right into Pomrose will be going into high school a little more purpose driven.
Definitely.
No, there is no guarantee that whatever they say they'll be in Form 1, they'll be in Form 5.
Definitely.
Because they get more exposed, they might see other alternatives, but at least they're going in purpose driven.
Right.
That in itself decreases the chances of dropout, of getting involved in criminality, because they are focused. The F word, Grenada, the new F word, if you want one, and there's a C and a U in it too, by the way, is focus. All right?
I love that. I'll be right back with you, Doc, for your closing remarks. But Carlis, in light of all that has been shared this morning, from the community relations standpoint and also that of the Eastern Division, what are some of the initiatives that we have to unfold come September 2021, the new school year?
Good morning to you, Papa Grant, and of course, morning to those who are listening via this medium. For most persons, I believe that you have already recognized and know that one of the mandates that is activated now for the RGPF is that of community policing, which is aimed at reaching or bridging the gap between the police and the community for greater development. But however, as it relates to initiatives for the next term into September, what is planned for that period that will engage our young minds, in particular students of the primary schools to start with? We're going to have two areas, right, that is mandated by the RGPF. One, that of a school liaison officer, right? That officer has a responsibility to be in direct contact with that particular school, right? And there are at least 15 schools within the Eastern District, right, of St. Andrews, in collaborating with St. David's. Yeah. So each school should at least have a liaison officer, all right? And that liaison officer would be able to help deal with issues, right, that the school may have that needs to be attended to. And secondly, with an aim of having to bridge the gap among our young students with that of the delinquent behavior where the police have to get involved. So we want to create a relationship, we want to create a union among the school and the police with the students. Secondly, we have that of the boys club. And not because we speak of boys club, we target just males, right? We want to be able to target the females as well, right? And the aim of this boys club is to be able to focus on discipline, to be able to focus on encouragement, motivation, support, guidance, for our young boys and girls to be able to be better young men within our society. Because we realize from a community relations standpoint that our young men and young ladies are now developing attitude where they exercise a lot of or explore a lot of delinquent behaviors, which then will cause them to get into acts of criminal activities. So the aim of the Boys Club in particular in reaching our young boys and girls at our primary school levels is first to help deter a level of crime and to reduce any form of delinquent behaviors that may occur.
Thank you so much, colleague. So basically, listeners, this is a collaboration. So when we all work together, then you realize that child, that young person has no way, no window to continue their delinquent behavior, but to perform at the level that is acceptable. So if you have education doing it, law enforcement doing it, health doing it, community doing it, obviously, that's one of the initiatives to save our generation. Dr. Chaitan, with the courtesies extended, I'll just ask you to give your final words to all listeners.
My friends, there's a picture in my mind. When I visited Kenya some years ago and went on the reserve, I saw a flock of zebras, and I actually saw them being attacked by the lions. All right, and what the zebras did. They put their heads together in a circle. And the hind legs, they use for kicking to get rid of the enemy, right? There is no doubt we have an enemy facing our children, okay? And I don't want to sound religious or anything like that, but if you're religious, that's the devil, or evil influences. What it would take is us putting our heads together, like the zebras, form a circle around our children, moms, dads, teachers, police, a church. By the way, don't miss a church. And let's put our heads together, hold it strong for our boys and girls, so that they would give them a fighting chance, so they could grow into productive and responsible citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that closing remarks. It's just put the icing on the cake. So, listeners, this has been the end of the conversation with the RGPF. And this morning in studio with me was guest Dr. Neil Chaitan, Constable 461 Larry Williams under the STAR program. It's a new intervention whereby we work in with our young persons, with our juveniles, to help bring about that change. And as per usual, we are asking of you, you see something, hear something, know something, please say something which would cause us to put or to curb all antisocial and delinquent behavior. So again, I say thank you, and to the management and staff of Real FM, that of none other the boss, AD. We say thank you for the courtesies extended to us for that extra minute. God bless you. Have a wonderful week as we continue to work together under the umbrella of community policing. We certainly would make it one.
My society.